Again, my name is Patrick Von Dolan, San Antonio Family Association. I want to thank you for bearing with us as we had to transition from the public property that is owned by taxpayers underneath Northeast ISD's name as a public entity, and we move out to another publicly owned piece of property in the sidewalk here, and we were asked to move since we're not in conformity with the Northeast ISD's stance on this issue. And I'd like to welcome, the next topic is grandparents want to help their children and grandchildren. I want to welcome Paula Moore of Concerned Women for America to come and share with us her thoughts. She has been a voice for women throughout the state of Texas in life, born and unborn, and so please welcome me, Paula Moore, Concerned Women of America.
All right, Paula. Quick, Paula, get out there before you get arrested.
Good morning. Can you hear me? I come to speak today as a grandmother and a mother and a longtime educator. In grades 7 through college freshman. I'm also a member of Concerned Women for America, and it's the largest group of activist Christian women in the United States. CWA is very concerned over the sex ed being implemented in our schools today. This sex ed is in many schools today is harmful. It usurps parental rights to raise their children in a moral and healthy way. A popular sex ed program called RIGHTS, sounds good, Rights, Respect, and Responsibility, the 3 R's, written by Advocates for Youth, which has matching philosophies and a strong partnership with Planned Parenthood, is being included in numerous schools. Here are some examples lifted verbatim. These examples are lifted verbatim from this Rights, Respect, and Responsibility program. This is the teacher talking with the students, 13 to 14 years old. Your boyfriend or girlfriend looks at you and says, now that we're alone, maybe we can finally take things to the next level. Here's another one. This is the teacher talking, remember? Your boyfriend or girlfriend says, I really want to know what it feels like. Don't you? What if we do it just once to see what it feels like? And then we don't do it again. If you don't want to. There are 15 harmful elements that have been identified in CSE, Comprehensive Sexual Education. After analysis of the quotes I just read to you, it is clear that they are teaching children about sexual pleasure and indirectly encouraging them to seek it as, and this constitutes one of the harmful elements. Here's another example. This is for the teacher is talking. Bisexual. Someone who may be attracted to people of their own gender and to people of a different gender. Note to teacher. Now this is for the teacher. Note to teacher. Bisexual technically means two, and pansexual means many. So, people attracted to 2 or more genders, including transgender individuals, may be termed pansexual. Analysis of this one, this dialogue, harmful elements promotes homosexual, bisexual identification, exploration of diverse sexual orientation. Here's the third example. When do you think someone is ready to have sex? Either oral, vaginal, or anal with their partner. Now this is ages 14 and up. Take a few responses. This is instructions to the teacher. Take a few responses and ask. Now this is very, very leading. What would have to be in place in their relationship to have safe sex? Analysis. The harmful CSE element here is that the dialogue normalizes oral and anal sex and introduces these high-risk behaviors to children. There are high infection rates of STIs, of HIV, HPV, oral, and cancer are associated with these sexual acts. This last example leads me to give you some quotes or stats from CDC 2016. 1 in 20 sexually active females aged 14 to 24 in the U.S. has chlamydia. And I'm not going to explain what chlamydia is, but it's not good. It's an STD. Texas had, this is 2016, Texas had 137,739 cases reported of chlamydia. Now we go to gonorrhea. Texas reports 40,971 cases in 2016. It's up 6.8% from 2015. The CDC estimates, this is shocking, 820,000 people, 820,000 cases in the U.S., with less than half of them reported. Syphilis. Syphilis is highest in the U.S. in men ages 20 to 29 years of age. Texas reported 9,075 in 2016. This was nearly a 6% rise from 2015. How about I don't use this?
We need it.
Oh, okay. Anecdotal evidence. I have a good friend who has a pregnancy care center. She sees about 400 women a month now. She said the cases of gonorrhea and syphilis have multiplied, and they keep getting more and more and more and more. And this is anecdotal, but she said, Paula, this is almost like an epidemic here in San Antonio. What can we do? Parents in Cypress Fairbanks School District in Houston had a victory in 2012. After much preliminary work, they called up then Senator Dan Patrick and SBOE member Donna Bahorich. They put a lot of pressure on the superintendent, and they got that sex ed out of that school district. That was in 2012. It took a while, and they were blessed by a gal who was an attorney who worked for them for free. Last but not least, this paper that I gave to you all is from ETR. ETR, on this paper, ETR is the one that distributes the sex ed that the Houston Independent School District had, and it's called It's Your Game. If you will note, look down at the bottom of that page, this first page, this ETR, the distributor of this sex ed, is actually teaching teachers how to manipulate students. For instance, this is what they're going to teach the teachers to do. Explain how affirmative consent, which means talking back and forth with the child, contributes to changing use norms and attitudes about sexual relationship. This is what is happening. There's a whole bunch of other ones on the second page. Take this home, take a look at it. This, our youth minds are being just completely manipulated. However, we as parents and grandparents and so on stand tall, and there is a bright light in the future if we all work together. Thank you.
Yes. Right here, Paula.
Thank you, Paula. That was excellent. And from a grandparent's perspective, it's critically important that our grandparents have seen generations of children be impacted not only their own, but the next generation. And also great information about ETR. As I mentioned to you, ETR was actually owned by Planned Parenthood at one point in time, and before being spun off from 3 years ago, spun off 3 years ago by Planned Parenthood, so they'd be a separate corporation, and to have an arm's length distance from them so that they could get into schools without being tainted by the name Planned Parenthood, which is actually about planned promiscuity and planned perversion, not about parenthood. I'd next like to welcome to the podium Dina Abiasi, who is a parent of Northeast Independent School District graduates and a great perspective and an activist here in Bexar County. Please welcome me, Dina Abiasi.
Yes.
Hi, I'm just here this morning speaking on behalf of other parents. I'm a mom, and that's the greatest title. I have other titles in my life that I have learned from education or received from education, but the best title in the world is mom. So we're here today just to really speak from the perspective of what are we worried about? Don't we see that there's a problem out there? Don't we feel in the deepest part of our guts that there's a problem? We can talk about the specifics, we can talk about Planned Parenthood, we can talk about NEISD, we can talk about all of the curriculum that is so incredibly bad and I would say deviant. But really, we feel it in our gut, there's a problem. So we're here today really speaking about the dignity of every human person, every human life, the student, the teacher, the administrator, the principal, the superintendent. They have to know there's a problem. Human dignity, God-given dignity, is defined by inherited worth of immeasurable value. That is, calls us, knowing when we understand our inherited worth of immeasurable value, it calls us to a morally appropriate response. So today we're coming here to say, there is an appropriate response to this curriculum. We are not doing our children any favors when we talk about this graphic sex, when we tell them that all sex is equal, that we change the definition of how God defines sex. We are not doing them any favors. So we're asking for NEISD to give us an honest conversation. Let us come in and explain to them what we are concerned about. We're all on the same team because we are not against biology. This is not a discussion against biology, about the basic biology of how sexual relations happen between a man and a woman. We're not about that. But we are saying that comprehensive sex education as defined by Planned Parenthood and the curriculum that is being taught in NEISD is wrong and damaging to our children. The children that sit in the classrooms now, the children that will come, our grandchildren, and for the entire district. Parents are fed up. They do not want this anymore. So let us speak to the dignity of every child, every student, every parent, every grandparent, all of the teachers, the superintendents, the teachers that know as they teach it, it is wrong. I tried to get on the shack as a community organizer, community leader, community parent, and I was denied, even though my qualifications are impeccable. They don't want people like me who are pro-life, pro-family, pro-traditional family to be on the shack in organizations like that. So we're asking NEISD, a school district that served me well, served my children well. I have 3 kids. I didn't graduate from NEISD, but 3 children that graduated from NEISD, and they prepared them very well for the next stage in their life. But they did not prepare them in this part of their life, in the part of sex education, because I pulled them out. For every single class during that time, I pulled them out, and I taught them myself. Sex education day at that time for my family was ice cream day. We pulled them out, we went to go get ice cream, and we talked. We talked about life issues, biology, all of those kind of things. And they are all perfectly functioning, well-adjusted adults. They did not need this indoctrination. So, we're here today to say there's some problems. We all feel it. It's in our gut. Let us speak to that. Let us gather as people that are concerned about children and try to solve this problem. We want this curriculum out, and we want it replaced with something much better, much more about biology, much more about life and the dignity of life. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. That was excellent. And we are here. I would reaffirm what Dina has said, is that a lot of Northeast ISD has done a lot of great things, but they have failed in this area. They failed public trust. They failed parental trust. Parents who want to trust them, and fortunately for Northeast ISDs, to their credit, they still have an opt-in program. So you still have to opt in to go through the sex education curriculum. However, I will tell you from experience, from having numerous children in Northeast ISD's school district, that they get lots of pressure to be a part of the class, and they get pressure not only from the students, their peers, but also from the teachers. So I'd like next to introduce and welcome Ms. Judith Wiley, who has a doctorate in educational administration and a longtime principal in schools, and I'd like to introduce her and welcome her with her perspective from an administration standpoint and from a parent standpoint. Please welcome with me Judith Wiley.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Wiley, known as Dr. Wiley in my schools. What I just witnessed and was forced to be a participant in flies in the face of what we were taught in the doctoral program for administrators at University of Houston, that it is the top job of administrators, also teachers, to pay attention to what we call stakeholders in the education system. That means parents and students. They spent lots of time urging us and impressing on us that we must pay attention to the stakeholders who were just run off the public property for trying to make our wishes known. I'll be short but not so sweet. I just want to say that I'm a mom also, my best title, and I have 4 children, but those 4 children came in a pattern that I had not anticipated. There's exactly 25 years between the oldest and the youngest. That means I have 42 years in the schools. I started over 3 times. The first 2 were together. I did have to take them out of school for 1 semester, and I did. I hired a tutor. I devised the curriculum. They both graduated with honors. The next one, even the older kids said, "Mom, school's not like it was when we were there. It's a whole lot different, and not on the good side." Anyway, I was at the school often. I was in Dallas at the time, and we did get a lot of objectionable things stopped. Okay, the last one came along, and I'm telling you, this has been going on for years and years. Every year that I had a child in school, for 42 years, personal experience, there it was. The same kind of stuff, but escalating every year. And the things you heard today are outrageous. I see a danger here in the adversarial position taken by the board and their policy. I see a twofold danger. 1, to parental rights, and 2, to the rights of children. Children have a right to go through the normal stages of development. I'm also a Montessorian. I have trained Montessori teachers for years. I learned from a woman who learned from Dr. Montessori herself. It's been proven since 1905. There are certain stages of development that need to be honored, and one of them is the sense of mystery that children have as they approach adolescence. That needs to be preserved, and it's being perverted by this kind of curriculum to take one path, and that path is an unhealthy one. I think that it's a shame that there's an adversarial relationship here, but I just wonder how much more access to our children should be given to schools that won't listen to parents. I'm glad to hear that that you're required to opt in to this program here. There's not full disclosure, as we already had explained to us, or not so many people would be opting in. I'm sorry to say that over these years, our society has been coarsened by this kind of approach to the children because of a lack of valuing of the family, a lack of valuing of the child's nature. It needs to stop.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
I could go on, but I won't.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Judith. That was excellent, and I appreciate your perspective. Let me turn these down a little bit again. And she said something that was right on. Is that these curriculums, these comprehensive sex ed curriculums, are perverting our children. They're putting ideas into our children's mind that had no idea. And not just in heterosexual sex, but also in homosexual sex and deviant behavior like anal sex and oral sex. And so they have a situation where they corrupt our children's minds. Instead of having that innocence of children continue and that wonder that develops about those relationships, we have children that are being forced upon them to think that they're either heterosexual or homosexual way before adolescence and during adolescence, and they aren't even sexually active necessarily, but seeds are being planted to have them think in this way, and that's what we call by sexualizing children. So for you that didn't hear it, the American College of Pediatrics has endorsed and certified the sex ed sit-out today as a good movement that school districts need to be adopting sexual risk avoidance programs, not sexual risk reduction programs. And on May 9th, 2016, Northeast Independent School District, the administration building here behind me, adopted a sexual risk reduction program, leaving sexual risk avoidance, going to sexual risk reduction with a program called Draw the Line, Respect the Line for middle school students, 11 to 13-year-olds, in which they teach them how to put on condoms. Pause for just a second while this plane goes over. Thank you for your patience. It teaches children how to put on condoms. It talks about how when the parents are away, the kids will have parties, and one of the children goes up and has sex in the master bedroom and gets pregnant. And we go and talk to the Northeast Independent School District before they adopted this in the Board of Trustees. We went and talked to them before May 9, 2016 when they voted to adopt this. And we said, are you going to include this curriculum, this part of the curriculum? Oh no, we're not going to do that part of the curriculum. And afterwards, after they voted on May 9, 2016, we go back to them and say, are you going to adopt this part of the curriculum? Well, you have to buy the whole curriculum and get it and read it yourselves, because they wouldn't offer it to us. And they don't even offer it as a parent. They don't offer it to us as parents either. So we go and we buy the curriculum, our group does, and begin reading it with thanks to Melissa Beckett and other ladies who devour the information, come to find out that these terrible lessons are included, and we go back and ask, are you going to include this one? Where the boy's cousin comes over to teach him how to put on a condom. They said, no, we're not going to include that one. Well, which one are you going to include? Well, you'll have to go and look at the rest of the curriculum. So we bring lesson by lesson to them on what they're going to include or not include. And no, we're not going to include that one. When they voted on May 9, 2016, they voted to take on the curriculum and purchase the curriculum in total. There were no caveats. There were no motions to remove any curriculum pieces. So while this current administration might go along and not use those bad lessons, perverted lessons, there's nothing that stops them from using it and beginning to use it, or a future administration from using it. So I want to talk in total about how this affects us locally, because while Melissa Beckett shared about how Texas Education Code 28.004 mandates that the majority of the curriculum be abstinence-based. Well, that means 50% or more. And Melissa, I'm not sure if she mentioned it or not, but in her personal opinion, she believes that the curriculum doesn't get to 20% abstinence-based on this draw the line, respect the line curriculum. That's for middle school. The high school curriculum, the high school curriculum is called Big Decisions. Big Decisions was created by Healthy Futures Texas, a woman who started that organization called Dr. Janet Riolini, who just retired from Healthy Futures Texas. Her prior job from starting Healthy Futures Texas and being president of that was to be the medical director for San Antonio Metropolitan Health District. And so she left the San Antonio Metropolitan Health District and the city of San Antonio and went over and started Healthy Futures Texas to promote this statewide, this curriculum, this sexual risk reduction. And so anything that veers from no, meaning no drinking, no tobacco, to veer from avoidance to reduction, like, well, if you're going to smoke, make sure it's filtered cigarettes. If you're going to drink, make sure it's in a brown paper bag. If you're going to text, make sure it's in a phone case. And if you're going to have sex, make sure you wrap it with a condom. And if you didn't know, our city of San Antonio, one of the hashtags that they have is called hashtag WRAP City, W-R-A-P City. And if you look into San Antonio Metropolitan Health District, you'll find this out. Well, so how is this all connected? Well, we have a legislature in a conservative government state government who has removed the financial funding of abortion providers throughout the state of Texas. They allow abortion providers to indirectly get to our children through curriculum. So if we're going to defund them financially, we need to defund them completely, 100%. That means all abortion providers have to be removed from any sex ed curriculum in any traditional ISD or charter schools.
Absolutely.
It has to be done in which it is consistent across the board, financially defund them, and scholastically defund them. It's time for the governor and the state legislature to act and remove them and have an enforcing mechanism if they violate 28.004 and have less than 50% of the curriculum be about sexual risk reduction and not about abstinence and avoidance, then they need to be fined. They need to be strangled financially, the school districts. So then we move to a city government in which the city of San Antonio, possibly the most progressive city council we've ever had in the city of San Antonio, which started back in 2011, getting very active in social issues. And it has only escalated as from the time of Mayor Julian Castro in 2011 to now, Mayor Ron Nirenberg, we have expanded, the city council has expanded the funding and use of your taxpayer dollars for sexually transmitted diseases, for HIV, for condom distribution, for education on perversion. But there's $0 allocated, $0 allocated for abstinence. Education on purity, the benefits of purity and chastity. There's none. They only are attacking the symptoms of this cause. And the cause is proclivities, perversion, promiscuity, in which these people run around and are encouraged by our city government to run around and act like pubescent teenagers who can't control themselves. We are human beings with a dignity. Human beings have willpower. Human beings have free will and willpower. It only has to be developed, like in sports. Northeast Independent School District, San Antonio ISD, Edgewood ISD, all three ISDs that received independent consulting by the City of San Antonio's San Antonio Metropolitan Health District to act as independent consultant to choose these curriculums of big decisions, draw the line, respect the line. And as Paula Moore said in San Antonio ISD, it's your game. These curriculums are perverting our children's minds. They're encouraging them to act on impulses as animals, mere animals, not as animals who are higher than just animals, that we are not only just mammals, but human beings, Homo sapiens. We are all Homo sapiens, whether you have a proclivity of same-sex attraction or with 97% of the United States of America to a natural attraction to the opposite sex. We have to construct these children under virtues, and they do it as the most part under the 7 habits and under other virtues through sports and other curriculums, other extracurricular activities. Northeast Independent School District and the others do promote virtues through sport and through scholastics, but when it comes to sex education, they diverge. It takes a 90-degree turn and diverges from the consistent scholastic education, which would be no drinking, no smoking, no sex, no drugs, no bullying. And they diverge 90 degrees and they say, oh, well, if you're going to have sex, make sure you use contraceptives. Make sure you use condoms while you're in middle school. And when you get to high school, make sure you use on Depo-Provera, Nexplanon, IUDs, things that are very harmful to girls' bodies, that cause major problems. Depo-Provera, for example, if you use it for 2 years or more, the woman uses it, she has irreversible bone density loss. What do women fight later in life? Osteoporosis, bone degeneration. We are putting chemicals in our children's bodies and promoting that by promoting and having them be on pills like Depo-Provera, a shot like Depo-Provera, in which it creates bone density loss. We are harming our children, chemically sterilizing them, impacting their bodies to cause them to gain weight. And the city of San Antonio knows that the evidence here, because everything has gone to where it's evidence-based. And as it becomes evidence-based, they have evidence that shows that when these girls get on these chemicals, it causes depression. And what happens? The suicide rate goes up amongst young women. But also, when they fund education, sexually transmitted disease, HPV, and other vaccines to deal with the symptoms of sexual intercourse before marriage, they are also funding depression treatment. They know it up front that these girls will be impacted psychologically, physically, and emotionally. And the funding is already there to fund psychologists and psychiatrists to help these girls through the moments in which the chemicals impact their brain, their body, their soul. It is unconscionable that we will allow our city government, our state government, to not be consistent in its application of virtue and promotion of what's truly good health. Because what's truly good health for our children and for each of us is to lead chaste lifestyles according to our state in life. And so if you're not married, that you would be chaste and celibate. And if you're married, to engage appropriately, honorably, which always holds the dignity of the spouse at hand, always looking for unity and procreation. Yes, it involves pleasure for the spouses particularly, but it is about the procreation of our civilization, not the prostitution of them, not the perversion of them, and not to encourage promiscuity. So I compliment each of our speakers. I want to thank them all. You'll be able to find this with more information at SanAntonioFamilyAssociation.com. Also on Facebook, San Antonio Family Association, where we had a live video feed as well as this complete recording. And I want to thank all the speakers who did an excellent job. For more information, for letters to principals, for letters to your elected officials, go to SanAntonioFamilyAssociation.com for that information. You'll easily be able to grab it, copy it, paste it, and create it, customize it for yourself to send to school administrators, the principals, the state legislator, the governor, our own city officials. It's time to stand up. Don't let this day go by. We had a nationally organized sex ed sit-out with hundreds of these sex ed sit-outs and press conferences where children are being pulled out of school. That affects schools financially, but also it creates a situation where they're not being hindered by this promiscuity promoting curriculum. So if you would, join with me in our closing prayer. pray for our country, our state, our county, our city, our local ISDs, all elected and public officials, anyone who has authority over a woman's life, particularly a pregnant woman's life, over the life of the woman and the unborn child. God our Father, giver of life, we entrust the United States of America, the state of Texas, Bear County, and the city of St. Anthony to your loving care. You are the rock on which this nation was founded. You alone are the true source of our cherished rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Proclaim this land for your glory and dwell among your people. Send your Spirit to touch the hearts of our nation's leaders with an intense desire to fulfill their responsibilities to protect individuals, marriages, families, and long-term domestic prosperity. Open our public officials' minds and all people who live in America to the inestimable worth of human life and to the responsibilities that accompany human freedom. Remind your people that true happiness is rooted in seeking and doing your will. Through the intercession of your Holy Spirit, grant us the courage to reject the culture of death, indifference, communism, and socialism, and bless us with the desire, strength, and fortitude to be courageous conduits to help bring about a new culture of life, marriage, family, and freedom. We ask for your divine assistance to help us be and remain faithful to you, and for our collective petitions through your Son, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. So thank you very much for being here. On behalf of the San Antonio Family Association and Sex Ed Sit Out nationally coordinated event, we wish you a pleasant day, a happy day, a virtuous day. Again, SanAntonioFamilyAssociation.com, San Antonio Family Association on Facebook, and it's also SAFA Family, at SAFA Family on Twitter. Join us in this movement to change our culture, to take back what should be the parents, protect our children, to do what's right and good by them so that they may have long lives and happy lives. Thank you very much.